right now. Boom.
All right.
Recording in progress. So, okay. And then I'll figure out what's done with the file afterwards. So yes. So Lorena, yes, thank you. Thank you for reaching out. And I'm ready to start whenever you're ready.
All right. Well, first of all, why have you decided to run for
Oh,
office?
why? Yes, yes. The reason why I decided to run, for you and your viewers who may not be familiar with my background, my name is Christopher Irizarry, and I'm a candidate for Florida's Congressional District 12. We would be the representative up in Washington for
Yeah.
our district, our community. The reason I decided to run, I'm an 8-year Army veteran and just retired from CIA in September of 2024.
Yeah.
I was ready to start a new chapter of my life and come back home to Florida, to family, to friends, to just plotting out the next chapter of my life. Like many people, I was disappointed, which is an understatement, disappointed with the results of the 2024 election,
Yeah.
where I was appalled and compelled to action, however, was my first encounter with our current representative for Congressional District 12, an individual by the name of Gus Bilirakis. Gus Bilirakis is one of those, if you could call them somebody who is absolutely loyal to the current administration,
Yeah.
he would strongly fall into that category. He laid out or had somebody else lay out for him his justification for his support of the Doge cuts that were absolutely devastating to
Yeah.
not only our government but our standing in the world. And I just could not abide by somebody who was more than happy to cede his authority as a representative, as a co-equal branch of government here in the United States to people, by his own words, speaking of Doge, were smart but didn't have a lot of common sense. Now, when
Yeah.
I was in the military, one thing I did not do, I did not abandon my post. I don't care how compelling my reason was. That's just something that you did not do. So when I saw an elected official do that and have no apologies about it, just going to let them do it,
Yeah.
congressional oversight be damned. I walked out of there saying, no, there's no way I just did 24 years of service, 2 oaths of service to my country to watch that. So I thought about it. I spoke with my wife. I spoke with my family. I filed in May of 2025, and I've been campaigning since June of 2025.
All right. Perfect. What are your main priorities?
Well, my main priorities are ones that I believe are consistent with one another. I believe in Medicare for all. I believe it's just something that
Yeah.
we need to do because it's our current system just does not work. I believe that we should have strong unions and strong worker protections, that people should be able to retire and earn wages and be able to save and be able to also live with dignity. Third, we need to vastly expand our investment in our schools, not only with our infrastructure and education, but in our teacher salaries. They've been lagging for
Yeah.
years, decades, and have been under attack that whole time. And finally, living in Florida, I believe that we should do things to protect our environment. We have aquifers that are susceptible to damage due to overdevelopment. We are
Yeah.
certainly susceptible to flooding when we have overdevelopment that hasn't been planned out. And of course, all that infrastructure could be wiped out by the next major hurricane. When we moved here, within months, we were hit by 2 hurricanes. And there are people that are still
Yeah.
feeling the effects today. People have not been able to return home. So it's those four: health, wealth, public education, environment.
All right. Can you tell me more about the things you'd like to see implemented on healthcare and education policies?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Many people have felt conditioned to believe that the way we're doing it is the only way we can because we
Yeah.
have such a massive infrastructure and basically a massive market, which is not really a free market, it's a captive
Yeah.
market. We built up this huge infrastructure of administration, of bill collecting, of follow-up, of people just trying to figure out who's within network, finding out what their insurance is going to cover, people self-rationing. And just all in all, you have people in the middle who are just collecting fees. They're collecting their premiums.
Yeah.
They're collecting co-pays at hospitals. What we need to do is make sure that we're not here just chasing poll numbers. We're not here trying to justify based on cultural values. What we have to do is we have to make the case for these
Yeah.
policies. Our healthcare system is not designed to work for people. We have all the time, we have people who are dependent on their jobs and have unseen administrators at insurance companies making choices for their healthcare. Medicare for all, a single payer system would remove that because everybody is getting crushed. Citizens of the United States who are living here are feeling the crunch. They're feeling the unaffordability every single day in nearly all
Yeah.
aspects in their lives. And I cannot imagine something that would be more impactful for us to completely remove ourselves from that and get to a system that, quite frankly, makes more sense not only for the people on the individual level, but for the country as far as expenditures that we make in our healthcare system at large.
Yeah.
That's with our Medicare system, our healthcare system. Our public education is something that we have egregiously been underinvested in for decades. It is common that people talk about the paltry salaries that our teachers make. It is an embarrassment how our infrastructure with schools, with funding for different programs are always misaligned with what we actually need. We have a system right now to where we have teachers who are not given any autonomy to teach. We
Yeah.
have teachers who because many people tie their own self-value with their worth. We have many of our teachers who don't get respect because they make so little. It is extremely difficult to find teachers willing to do that job, that selfless service, because it's just so hard for them, for teachers to actually be able to
Yeah.
afford to live where they teach. What we need to do is reframe it. It's not just a tax thing. I often hear this rebuttal, well, why should I pay more for our public education? I don't have kids. I don't have anybody in the system. Why should I care? Well, you know what? Neither do I. But I do know that when I was younger, people made that investment in me who also didn't have kids. So it's not
Yeah.
just a thing of paying it forward. It's not even that. It's not that I owe somebody previously. It's I owe our future. Because if we don't make these investments in our education, in our students, in our young people now, then we're going to pay more for it later on. So there's no way to avoid that. We cannot have an austerity
Yeah.
position on this and expect to reap any results or any reward. It's just not going to happen. So that's my
Yeah.
stance on healthcare. That's my stance on our public education system.
All right. Well, you also talked about the environment and natural
Mhm.
disasters. What are
Yes.
the measures that you would like to see implemented on those issues to
Well,
prevent flooding
yes,
from
yes.
happening? Yeah.
Absolutely. I know that have a lot of people frame this as a choice. We could have more regulations, but that would slow progress. I don't really feel that's actually an accurate choice. I'm a strong union person. I grew up in a union household. You could say I was union made. I
Yeah.
don't see I don't see the logic in allowing a big, huge project that provides workers with salaries to build this big, huge, massive infrastructure project, only to have the surrounding area flood at the first steady rain because we didn't
Yeah.
plan where the water was going to go once this infrastructure project was in place. To me, that's just not smart. So I believe that
Yeah.
smart projects along with good paying jobs are not mutually exclusive. This is not a zero-sum battle between them. We can do
Yeah.
this. We don't need to have, however, people who stand to gain money or to make a profit dictate the terms, dictate the pace of these. We have to get people involved who are willing to defend the environment while bringing smart, steady, secure, and sensible development to the area. We could do both. I
Yeah.
often say a lot of times, you know what, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can absolutely do this.
Yeah.
Sadly, the narrative by a lot of people who may not have the public's interest in mind and may be more aligned with their shareholders say, we have to get these permits, we have to get this done. Forget any study that you're talking about. We need to pour this, we need to fit it, do the ribbon cutting ceremony, and we need to get out of Dodge. I just met somebody yesterday. He talked about his history in the area. He lived in an area in my county, which is Pasco, in an area called Wesley Chapel. Wesley Chapel has
Yeah.
had an explosion of development. He lived out there before this happened. He said, I enjoyed it out there. It was nice and quiet. Then the developers came. He's moved again to another plot of
Yeah.
land, which is further north in Hernando County, I believe he said. He's thinking about moving a third time because the wave of development is crashing all around him, and
Yeah.
he's now going to be surrounded by a parking lot, a mall, and a big, huge four-way highway or whatever it is that he sees out there.
Yeah. All right. Well, on social issues like, there's been a lot of debate going on
Hmm.
around the problems with, well, the issues of um ICE and
Yes.
the way that, the way that immigration systems work
Hmm.
and civil rights, civil liberties. So what are your
Yes.
stances on those issues?
Well, what we've had over the last few years, especially leading up to the 2024 election, a lot of people were making their votes on one thing. I had an individual just talk to me this past weekend about this, the issue of immigration into the
Yeah.
country. The brute force tactics that have been employed by ICE as of late, which really just really saps one's belief in what American could be and how that reflects on the international stage. I know that a lot of people allow that because they believe that their lack of achieving a certain station in life by this time, by this age, the reason for that is directed to somebody who's crawling under a fence to then
Yeah.
steal social benefits. That's how it's been framed in the United States. That is obviously not true. I know that this is an issue across the European Union where people are concerned with sovereignty and they're worried about migration flows and the potential for these migration flows to mask potential elements of terrorist organizations in order to take advantage of this migration to then infiltrate into a country and then stir chaos. I understand that. However, there are, again, smart ways that we could do this. There are smart and compassionate ways that we can do this. The president asked our Senate leading up to the election that no, do not push a bill that was being pushed by the current administration by Joe Biden. Do not take this to a vote because we want to run on this. We want to run on this chaos. We want to run on this fear. And they did. And a
Yeah.
lot of people said, well, I don't like Biden. We're just not going to take this to a vote. That was to the best of my knowledge, a Republican plan. And what it was going to attack this in three ways. They wanted the ability to shut down the gate at the border if there was ever a chance to be able to shut down,
Yeah.
say nobody's coming in. We also had the people who were already here, who have been basically living in limbo, some for years, some for decades. The system is complex, it's long, it's very labor intensive, so it's also very difficult to navigate. We were going to increase staffing as far as with judges and people who can adjudicate these cases to get them out to allow them to achieve the American dream. And then there's also the staffing at the border to help with bringing people in. This plan called for all of that, and they stopped that. Now everybody is dealing with the same problem that we just had. So what we need to do again is don't chase polls, but make a connection with the people as to why this could work. And I honestly believe that if I can make the case to help them understand that we can do this with compassion and be able to maintain our security, we would be able to do this to their liking. And that's what I'm doing every single day to try to get that message out. It's been a wave of just negative publicity about they're coming to take your jobs, they're coming to take your resources, they're coming to take what's owed to you. And cracking that narrative, it's something that we'll just continue to do to try to swim up against the current of that narrative that's been trafficked for years now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's hard work, but
It's hard
I'm
work
sure.
repeating. It's hard work repeating. It really,
Yeah.
really is. It's just like I just said this 5 seconds ago, and I'm saying it again, but that's what it takes. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, how do you analyze this second term in office of Donald Trump?
Well, I find it hard to believe that anybody can take a look at our current gas prices right now and yell success. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't check what the price of a barrel of crude is right now. It's already past $100 a barrel.
Yeah.
That is going to equate to obviously higher prices at the gas pump. The biggest news item right now on an international stage is the United States. Our strikes, along with Israel, our strikes against Iran. I see that a lot of people in our administration right now were out of their depth or just did not want to listen to anybody on that.
Yeah.
I'm quite frankly at a loss to explain how it is that somebody could leave so much to chance on this. And what we're doing right now here in the United States, just looking at this from a practical standpoint, is how does this serve our interest? Where was the imminent threat? Where was it that we saw that that there was a compelling reason to do this and to do this now? Now, I'm
Yeah.
not here to say that Iran and the United States were buddy buddies. We were not, but we did have an agreement with the P5+1 to assuage the concerns people had about their nuclear weapon system. We had that in place, and this current administration just walked away from it. There was no imminent threat. This was clearly just a war of choice. So long-winded way of answering your question is that we're seeing our standing in the world diminish and we're feeling it at
Yeah.
the pumps all the time. Like I said, I didn't check what the price of gas is, but as of yesterday, there was a 51 cent per gallon increase since the conflict began. And I just find it right now that this is a tragic time, but this is also just showing that the time that we really need a change in our leadership here in Washington,
Yeah.
D.C. We really do. And myself, along with many other veterans who have filed and have thrown their name into their respective races, are aiming to change. There is a big push in the United States. We see what this is doing to our country, and we are fighting it every step of the way. People look at us,
Yeah.
right? When we had our Democrat booth in a red district yesterday, people are like, "What are you doing here?" But we had a lot of people come up and thank us. We had a lot of people say, "Thank you for doing this." I didn't know that there were so many people that were willing to fight. They show up to their Democratic meetings, all of them saying the same thing. I didn't know there were so many of us. So we're all tying in, we're all communicating, we're building the infrastructure, and we're building
Yeah.
a blue wave that's going to be is going to create shockwaves throughout the country and throughout the world when they see the results of the elections that take place with our midterms
Yeah.
coming up this November.
I guess they should listen more to veterans if they want to really understand how these things are, because
Hmm.
you're the ones with the experience to really
Hmm.
know about this.
I do believe that our collective experiences are able to cast a
Yeah.
different, incredible light on what's going on and what we need to do about it. That I absolutely
Yeah.
believe, and many people, regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, believe that as well.
All right. Well, my last question would be, if you get elected, what are the first things that you would like to do on your first few days?
Wow, first few days, first of all, what we need, what everybody's calling for is accountability.
Yeah.
As you know, Secretary Nome has just been moved over some lateral
Yeah,
thing that's
replaced. Yeah.
not, yeah, replaced. Yes. I
By
don't,
Mark Wayne Mulling, I
yeah,
think.
Mark Wayne Mullen. Mark Wayne Mullen
Yeah.
is also a one of those that I would call, how do I put this nicely? An unremarkable person in a remarkable number of ways. That's how I would describe them. They're
Yeah,
just simply not interested in doing the job, especially when it comes to accountability. That's one of the first things that this new Congress, when we get sworn in, that's one of the things we're going to tackle first is accountability. I don't believe that people should just be not held accountable anymore simply because the job in which they did that damage, they're no longer in that job. We can investigate them and hold them accountable, whether they're employed or not. We have had policies and pieces of legislation that have been in committee forever. You're talking about things as far as consumer protections. You're talking about Medicare for all. We have companion bills in the House and in the Senate. We're in committee that just can't get to the floor. We also have funding our VA because we have a
yeah,
promise to the veterans that we're now sending to war that this Congress and this administration have saw fit to cut. They've cut staffing at our VA hospitals and undermining our ability to keep the promise that we made to these veterans that we were going to take care of them. So there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to be able to do, but my voice is going to be lent to making sure that those that need to be held accountable are accountable. Those votes that we need to make to get over a threshold, to get something to the floor, to get a final vote, to get it to the president's desk, and to make sure that we actually keep this administration in check. So to make sure that they're not sending more of our people overseas for industry interest. And that's what I would be doing. That's what I would be doing day one. And I know that there are a lot of candidates who, when they get sworn in, are going to have the same mindset.
yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you
I'm
so
going to
much.
stop the recording